These are some tips for BGCSE keyboarding skills. Okay, the first thing we have is your standard memo. Now there are basically two different types of memo, but of the two memos, standard memos are the most commonly used or tested on the BGCSE examination. However, I have seen a few papers where the simplified memorandum appears. So if I were you, I would try to familiarize myself with both, because they often ask you to format when you're typing it. So they'll just have the writing there and they'll put the instructions in the top paragraph and you will have to do the rest. So when you start typing, the word memorandum should be in the center of the page at the top of the document, unless otherwise stated. For example, you can see it there below, it's in the center. Now, the word memorandum can be in all caps and bolded, but sometimes it's just initial caps. So it'll just have a capital M and then lowercase, the rest of the word will be in lowercase. When you're also doing a memo, you should include the following heading, and these headings should be in caps. 2, and they should be in this order. So you'll have 2, from, the date, and the subject. After the word memorandum and before you start typing the heading, you should do a quadruple space. So hit enter 4 times. And on the 4th place, that's where you start typing the word to. And then you will put, if it's to all employees, you'll put all employees. If it's from management, you'll put management. And of course, the date of the memorandum and the subject of the memorandum. And you want to make sure that all of the information for the headings are aligned. So from the word to, I would recommend that you tab 2 times and make sure that all the other things that you type are in line with, so make sure to all staff is in line with management, and make sure that's in line with the date, and make sure that that's in line with the subject. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now here, I'm showing you an actual example of a memorandum. So you can see the heading memorandum. I put there, you see that it's optional but recommended. Take that out. Don't take that out of your head. Make it mandatory. Because when the examiners are marking, you don't know exactly if they're a person that would think that it's optional or if they want it. So the best thing for you to do is to put it after the word memorandum, a quadruple space, then you start your headings. Then a double space after the headings and all the information. But if you look at the headings, you see that from GTS, Karen Moore, April 18th, and customer presentation, they're all aligned. So you want to make sure that your information is all aligned. They start at the same place. And then you have your body. The paragraphs themselves, the space between the paragraph is double space, and the actual paragraph itself, you type it in single space. And don't forget your typist initials at the end. What I didn't include in this slide is, like, let's say that you were going to put Karen Moore, since she's the one, you're her secretary, let's say that you're her secretary and you're actually typing the memo for her, then you would put in uppercase letters KM/DD/your initials in lowercase. So your initials would be in lowercase and your boss's initials would be in uppercase. I should have written that down, but I didn't. But you guys get the picture. You can figure that out by what I'm saying. Okay, so this is an example of a simplified memo. So you're gonna do 6 spaces, hit enter 6 times from the top, and on the 7th enter, you're gonna type the date, you're gonna skip 3 lines, and so you're gonna have a quadruple space, and on the 4th enter, you're gonna put who it's going to, the addressee, the receiver. So it's going to Bob's Big Beef staff. It's going to the staff of Bob's Big Beef. Okay, and then you're gonna do a double space, and the topic is meat to eat. That's the topic. But if you, the subject, so if you notice here, the subject is in all caps. Even though you don't have the headers, the to, the from, the date, most of that information is included here, but you just don't have the headings to state exactly what it is. So, excuse me, then you would start the body of the letter, double space between paragraph, each paragraph is single space, and if there's a subheading, you would put it in center in all caps. So you started the memo, and then you put what else to do for memo in all caps. So that's telling you that you're moving on, even though you're still under the same topic, you're moving on to a different subheading. And at the end of it, you would put the name of the person who's telling you to write the memo. So in this case, the manager, Mr. John Sands, and his title. And then under that, you would put your initials. It's pretty straightforward if you look at it. The different paragraph things, I put that there so that the paragraph symbol, I put those there so that you can see how many lines to skip. So that should help to guide you and give you an idea of how many lines to skip. Each new paragraph symbol represents a new line. Okay, now letter, it has a lot more information for a letter than I did have for the memo. Now in paper 1, they're gonna give you a 1-page memo, a 1-page letter, sorry. In paper 2, you're gonna have a 2-page letter. I don't remember seeing a 3-page letter on any of the papers that I've reviewed, but they will give you a 2-page letter. So I would like for you to pay attention to the instructions when you're reading the paper, because in those instructions, they don't usually put everything outright in the letter for you to follow. Sometimes they want you to figure some stuff out for yourself. So in the paragraph, with the instructions paragraph, it'll usually give you the sender's information, or they'll put it somewhere else in the letter where it's not so obvious. They'll also do the same with the receiver's information. They'll also let you know about the margins. If you don't see any instructions for the margins, let your default margins be 1 inch all around. So that means 1 inch left, right, top, and bottom. Those are your default margins, unless they give you specific instructions. Also, they will tell you, they may give you specific instructions about spacing. If they don't give you specific instructions about spacing, please note that the document is supposed to be single space for the actual paragraph and double space between each paragraph. Those are your line spacings. So the each actual paragraph that you type, you're gonna type it single spaced. But every time you go to a new paragraph, it's gonna be double spaced, unless they say indent paragraph. If they don't state indented paragraph, and especially if the format is block format, you're gonna skip a double space. You're gonna skip 1 space, so you're gonna do a double space between each line, okay? Between each paragraph, sorry. Okay, so in paper 1, like I said before, you'll be asked to type a 1-page letter. So when you print it, your letter should not be on 2 pages. And on paper 2, when you're asked to print a 2-page letter, when you print it, your letter should not be on 1 page. So don't be scared when you see it going to a 2nd page if they ask you to type a 2-page letter. Anticipate this, expect this. And please, please, please pay attention to the proofreading and typing symbols. Review them as much as possible. Now, some of you may think, oh, I've been typing for 3 years. I know what to do, blah, 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 Jaden. But you may not know what to do. And sometimes you go into the exam and you freeze. Do not get cocky and overconfident and go into that exam and fail. review as much as possible. Okay, so you also know open punctuation and closed punctuation. Open punctuation has no punctuation after the salutation or complimentary closing. So that means no commas in the addressee's address, no periods after abbreviations or acronyms or things like that. And closed punctuation, also known as full or mixed punctuation. Please familiarize yourself with these names. Closed punctuation, full punctuation, and mixed punctuation are the same thing, and they may use different terms to confuse you. So be well aware that closed punctuation, full punctuation, and mixed punctuation are the same thing. Okay, now closed punctuation means that it has punctuation after the salutation and closing and in the address and after the abbreviation. So I've left some examples under each one of these explanations for you guys to see and for you to review. So if you want, you can always pause this video. Even if I'm going too fast, you can pause this video and you can review it yourself. Do not take anything for granted. Okay, the font sizes that you're going to use in this exam should be between 11 and 14 points. So no smaller than 11 and no bigger than 14. But I would recommend that you use 12 as a default. Use 12, and I forgot to type it, but you can only use Times New Roman. We went over this in class, so none of this should be new to you. Size 12, Times New Roman, or Courier New. Those are the only two fonts that you are allowed to use, and your typing should be in black. Don't try to put no funny colors. They want it in black and Times New Roman or Courier New. Okay, so block format, in a block format letter, all text is aligned to the left and all paragraphs are not indented unless specifically stated. But most of the time, if they tell you that to put your stuff in block format, they'll not tell you to indent your paragraph. Modified block, on the other hand, could have both block paragraphs or indented paragraphs. So look at the instructions. If the instructions don't state outright, you can use either or. Okay? All right. In modified block format letter, all text is aligned left except the sender's address, the date, and the complimentary closing. Those three things will always go starting from the center point to the left, depending on how long it is usually. You can put it more to the right, sorry. More to the right, not the left. I don't know why that's there. To the right, even though it says left. Hey, listen to what I'm saying to you. It goes to the center point or more to the right side of your paper. This is modified block we're talking about. And in modified block, your paragraphs can be indented, even though usually they're not unless the exam paper states so outright. So this is an example of a block format. You see everything, the sender's information, the receiver's information, everything is aligned to the left margin. So keep that in mind. You guys can pause here in this video and look at it for as long as you want. And again, I have the paragraph sign to symbol to show you the spacing between the paragraphs and between the different and between the closing, the complementary closing. Remember, complementary closing, quadruple space. So you should have 3 spaces, but 3 lines between that, and then you start typing by Bob Powers. Okay, and then you have modified block. Modified block, you have the sender's information and the date to the right-hand side of the paper, right here. And then you have the receiver's information, the salutation, the body of the letter to the left-hand side, and then the complementary close goes to the left, to the right again, sorry, I keep saying left. The complementary close goes to the right. And if you look, the complementary close, the date, and the sender's address all line up. If you were to take a ruler and just hold it to your screen, you would see that they all line up. The sender's information, the date, and the complementary close are all aligned to the right. Do not use the align, but use your tab key. These arrows here showed you how many times I tabbed across, and they're all equal, which means that they have equal spacing and they all start at the same place. But I also want you guys to look at the bottom here where you'll see the typist initial is aligned to the left. The typist initial is aligned to the left, even though the complementary closing is more aligned to the right. So I need you guys to see that and not make that mistake, because that could cost you guys points. These simple mistakes. Okay. Okay, so this one had modified block format 1 had block paragraphs. Now, if you look at modified block format 2, it was supposed to have indented paragraphs, but I don't know what happened. Oh, okay, here it is, with indented paragraphs right here. So ignore the 2 slides because they're the same thing. I don't know why I didn't delete that. I'm gonna have to go fix that. But here you have the indented paragraphs on modified block format 2 with indented paragraphs. Indented paragraph means that you just hit the tab key 1 time and it'll go over by ½ of an inch. Or if you were using a typewriter, you would hit the enter key 6 times or 12 times, I think. I'm not sure, one of them. And you're all familiar with that. So you could pause here if you want, follow the instructions. If there are not any instructions, you can do it either way. Because usually they will mark you on the instructions that they give, and they give you free will to do to handle the basics any way you see fit. Okay, other things to look for and type when you do the letter. The examiner may give you instructions about an enclosure or an attachment and a carbon copy or a blind carbon copy. If you see this, do not ignore it. That could be 2 or 3 points that you miss just because you're being ignorant or just because you're ignoring the instructions that they give you. Don't do that. That could be the difference between an A and a B, or a C and a B. So when you're looking, if you look, you see the XX, that's the typist initials, and then under that you would put the enclosure, and then under the enclosure you would put the carbon copy or the blind carbon copy. Now it needs to be in this order, so remember, typist initials, enclosure, carbon copy, or blind carbon copy. At any point in this video, feel free to stop and look it over. I'm going fast because, hey, I'm the one talking here, not you. Okay, so if you look at this screen, you will see how to create an envelope. So this slide will show you how to practice creating an envelope. So I have the different steps circled in different colors. So step 1, the first thing that you'll click would be the mailings tab. And then after you click the mailings tab, you would click the envelope button or the envelope icon. And then from the envelope, you would click, you would type in Miss Betty Johnson into the delivery address. Once the screen pops up, once this little box here pops up, you would type in the delivery address, who you're sending it to, and then the return address. This would be your address. I put these in red and green so that you can see where the address information is and where you would get it from to use to address your envelope. And then the choices here, you can print directly from here, but you're not going to be able to do that in the BGCSE because after you're done, you're going to have to save it to a flash drive probably, and then the school is going to print it for you. So make sure that you do this correctly. And then you have add to document. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to add it to the document. Okay, and then we're going to print everything all together, your letter and the envelope all together. Okay, to make a table, to create a table or to insert a table, you will go here to your tabs, you would click insert, and then you would go here where it says insert table. Now, once you click insert table, this little box on the screen is gonna pop up. And then you're going to enter the number of columns and the number of rows. So you'll count and enter this information so that you can proceed. And then you'll click OK. Once you click OK, it's going to go ahead and create the table for you. Okay? So here's your table with as many columns as you entered and as many rows as you entered. And then you can just start typing in your information. Once you finish typing in your information, a lot of times the exam is going to ask you to center the document vertically and horizontally. To center the document vertically, you need to do a few more steps than to center horizontally. Now, to center vertically, you're going to go to the Layout tab, Layout. Then from the Layout tab, you're going to click Page Setup, this little arrow at the bottom here in the Page Setup column. So once you click this little arrow here, this table here, this box here is going to pop up. And then you're going to see here under Layout, you're going to go to Layout again. And then you're going to click Vertical Alignment, that drop down arrow, and you're going to click Center. So this is going to center your document vertically. This is going to align your vertical alignment is going to be centered. So they want you to center vertically. You can go over this as many times as you want to. Use it, practice it, watch this video, write it down, practice it, because just watching this video 1 or 2 times is not going to be enough. You need to actually know what to do by practicing, learn what to do by practicing it. Okay, now to center horizontally is the center that most of you are familiar with using. Here on your tab, on your Home tab, you have your center alignment right here. So once this centers your document or the part of your document horizontally, okay? So we reviewed center horizontally and center vertically. Now let's look at margins. So under the Layout tab, you need to go under the Layout tab again. Under the Layout tab, you'll go to Margins, and then under Margins, you're going to click Custom Margins. I want you guys to get into the habit of going to Custom Margins. Okay? Now, once you click Custom Margins, everything is measured in inches. Once you click Custom Margins, you'll go here, see top, bottom, left, right. You put how many inches the margin is. And then you click OK, and it'll adjust your margins in your document. Okay, paragraph and spacing. Remember, before you guys start typing, or even after you finish typing, just click Control-A, and then remove space after paragraph. This is very important. It can jack your document up if you do not click remove space after paragraph. So this is one step I want you guys not to miss out. Okay. Now, if you want to change the indent, it's usually your indent is usually half of an inch, or however, you can come here and you can click this box. So that's your paragraph spacing here. And you can set your spacing after paragraph to 0. Sorry. You see how it has 8 point here? That is actually supposed to be 0. So you can set this spacing here to 0. Okay. So how do you change your font size, your font name? How do you put bold or underline or italics? Right here under the font section, you can change it to Times New Roman or Courier New, and you can change the size to size 12, size 11, 13, or 14, but as a default, I recommend that you use 12. And then here's your bold. The B is for bold, the I is for italics, and the U is for underline. So everything is in this space right here. Font size, font name, bold, underline, and italics. Okay, some different types of caps. We have regular caps, we have spaced caps, and we have initial caps. Spaced caps, all of the letters are spaced, one space between each letter of the word and two spaces between each word. Then you have regular caps, no spaces between each letter and one space between each word. All of the letters in the word are capitalized. And then you have initial caps. The first letter of each word is capitalized. It can't get more simple than that, people. Well, I can't explain it more simple than that. So if you can find another way to simplify it for yourself, please let me know. Okay, typing symbols, I put some here. These are some of the most commonly used typing symbols. We have your 3 lines under the letter to show that you need to capitalize it. You have your little squiggle that means take out or delete, your new paragraph symbol. The period or ending punctuations in a circle, your word in a circle with the word SP over it. You will use it based on your own deduction. You will deduce what it's supposed to be. You'll figure it out for yourself, because sometimes they may want you to check the spelling of the word. Like let's say somebody spelled resume wrong, or they may want you to spell out the acronym FBI. So instead of FBI, they will want you to put Federal Bureau of Investigation instead of the FBI. Then you see the hashtag or the pound sign means insert space, the close up or bring together symbol, transpose or switch, run on or keep together, LC means lowercase, and step means let stand or keep the same, so no change. Okay, and then you have portrait of landscape. If they ask you to change the position of your document, you go to the layout tab again. Layout tab, familiarize yourself with it. It is one of your friends, and it's where a lot of the stuff that you have to format is. So you go to layout, orientation, and you can choose whether you want the document to be in portrait or landscape. Okay. Okay, in your BGCSE, I'm gonna have a second video to follow. In your BGCSE, you're gonna have different documents to type. You're gonna have memos, you're gonna have letters, you may have an application, you may have an itinerary, you may have an invitation, different things like this that you would have to type. So there are displays. Displays are flyers, invitations, announcements, things like that. Or you can have an application form. Now, sometimes they'll ask you to type a blank application form, and then in the same note, they want you to fill out the application form. So when you print at the end, or when you save at the end, you're gonna have to save or print 2 documents. So the next video that I have, I'm gonna talk more about the applications and the displays, and I'm also gonna walk you through how to save a document.